Hey everybody, ronarray here, and at this point in the league a lot of good items are getting progressively more expensive, sometimes reaching pretty high level for a pretty mid items. So the pretty nice way around it would be crafting some of them yourself. So in this video I wanted to showcase how to craft almost all gear for martial artist build from AMULET to the ARMOUR. It could be also used for some other classes, but been mostly created with martial artist build and especially my build in mind. Use the timestamps to check the process for every item, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you like detailed crafting guides as well. And let's go! Also keep in mind that sometimes craft could be pretty RNG in 0.5 after GG removed some dedicated methods to make the craft more consistent. So at the moment you also always will need to change market before you investing into crafting, because it might be easier to buy items there. And right now let's start with a basic item which is pretty easy to craft, and this is a helmet. So, for the helmet, you will need to get good bases, and personally, since I'm using Ancestral Tiara in my build, I recommend to buy Ancestral Tiara's bases too. So, at the moment, you can get the bases from 10 Exalteds up to approximately 15, it depends on the market at the moment. So, just to get a few good items, you will need to buy a pretty decent amount of bases, as you can see right there. So after you got the bases, you just need to click them with just perfect orb of transmutation. Make sure it's perfect, it could cost a little more, but that way you will have much better chances for good items. However, if you really feel like you don't have currency, you can also go with normal greater orb of transmutations. However, since you're still paying about 10 exalteds per base, I believe that using perfect it's making much more sense. So you're clicking with one perfect transmutations. After you click, you need to look at the bases which are ended up good. You're practically searching for Energy Shield, any resistances or rarities. Throw bad ones aside. So for example, here we have Accuracy and Lightning, that is not working. Energy Shield Recharge, not working too. Mana, not working. Chaos Resistance is fine. Accuracy again. Energy Shield Recharge. Rarity items is fine. Cold Resistance is fine. All of those are pretty good, and all of them we will click with perfect orb of augmentation too. So here we are looking for double things, and right there, for example, we have an amazing option. We have tier 1 energy shield, which is 92%, together with 40% of fire resistance, which is absolutely great. Right here we have rarity plus cold, it's fine too. Rarity and level of minions could be just an option to sell later. Mana and chaos resistance I'm probably throwing aside. And life and cold resistance could probably still be a good option to sell later on. So after we went to that step, next step is going to be to use some essences. If you don't have a prefix with increased energy shield percent, you can just use greater essence of enhancement. It's going to give you increased armor, evasion, energy shield, so for that one I'm going to use that essence. Same for minion and rarity, same for cold and rarity. However, for that one, we already have option with Energy Shield and Fire Resistance. That way we just can't use Greater Essence of Enhancement right here. And instead we're going to use another Essence for Resistance. So since we have Fire right here, we can just add Cold on top. And that's what we ended up with. Right now we finished with Resistances, and the next step would be to get a proper Desecration in. For most of those helmets, I believe that desecrating a prefix is literally the best option in most cases. Here, we could just use Omen of Sinistral Necromancy to maintain the prefix. However, since we want to save currency, I think there is a better way to do that. Instead, we're going to use Omen of Dextral Exaltation, so Exalteds will only add suffix modifiers, together with Omen of Greater Exaltation, so our Exalt is going to add 2 modifiers instead of 1. That way, we will guarantee that we are going to fill the suffixes and prefix is going to stay safe. So for example, right here we have open double suffix, here we have open double suffix too, and that's the only helmet which is not going to work that way. So if you have an open double suffix, you can just activate Exaltation, Greater Exaltation, and use Greater Exalted Orb. That way we'll have higher chances for higher level modifiers at the moment. So I'm clicking those 3 with Greater Exalted. And the only thing which will be done in a little different way is that tiara, because we have only one open suffix right there. So in that case, we're going to just use Omen of Sinistral Necromancy and lock Preserved Reap for the prefix, guaranteeing that it's going to be prefix, and after that, Omen of Greater Exaltation alone without Dextral, and click it with Greater Exalted Orb. So that practically leaving only one option for prefix and desecration for the rest of 3 helmets. We're desecrating all of them. And let's see what we ended up with. For the helmet, unfortunately we rolled accuracy, so it's not going to be too amazing, but as you can see, we still have triple resistance, which is very good, even if accuracy is not that amazing, unfortunately. But if you will be able to roll higher Energy Shield, triple resistance, it always selling well. For that one, we rolled life with Energy Shield, we got double resistance, and life regeneration is kinda mid. Right here we have reduced attribute requirements and life regeneration, that one is going to be pretty bad. And right here we have intelligence and life regeneration too. So perfectly, you need to keep reiterating the helmet until you hit something nice. Good example would be something like that, so triple resistances or even critical. And without the accuracy, any other good prefix would be cool. At the moment, if you feel like it, you can also use a reroll Omen. So if I believe in that helmet, I'm probably going to use Omen of Abyssal Ecos to reroll it. Let's go and finish it. So right here we're just revealing what we ended up with, and we can get a pretty decent just flat Energy Shield. Flat Energy Shield and higher percent Energy Shield always should be prioritized over basic options like that when you're revealing your helmets. I think that one would be absolutely perfect, if not for accuracy, but even in the current set of things, I think it's still going to be solid enough. So out of that bench that I craft, both of those helmets are pretty bad. I think they will go for maybe like 10 exalteds, not more. That one is pretty solid. It should be about 3-4 divines, mostly because it has +2 level for minion skills and still a pretty decent energy shield. And that helmet, even if it failed and unfortunately got completely unlucky accuracy right here, it's still worth about 6, maybe even 7 divines just because it got triple resistance and 400 energy shield. So for the amulet, you either buying a basic base for about 20 divines or the base with +2 or +3 to all melee skills, which is significantly more expensive. So at the moment, +2 base cost about 50 divines, and if you'll go for +3 base, it's going to be 100. So if your budget is very high, you can go for it. If you don't want to do it, you can just try to roll it yourself. At the moment, I believe that rolling +3 yourself could be about more than 1,000 chaoses. It's approximately 1,700 according to Crafting Exile. So it should be approximately like 100 divines based on the prices with chaoses. However, getting +2 could be significantly easier for you, and you can get one base for like 50 divines, or you can just get a basic one and try your luck with rolling. So in case if you're going to do it yourself, I'm going to showcase how exactly it is done. So you need to click it with the basics, and unfortunately you can't click the base with Orb of Transmutation. You can try Orb of Augmentation, or you can try the regular orb right here. So after you click it with the regular orb, it's giving you one modifier, and after that you can just start clicking it with Chaos Orbs. So clicking it with Chaos Orbs will... And right here I got +2 melee, as you can see. It's been a very lucky roll. I think I probably spent like 5 chaoses. Usually you will probably spend hundreds, and if you're aiming for +3, you're probably going to end up spending thousands. So after you acquire the amulet and you either chaos rolled or just bought it like that, and you have +3 level of all melee skills. So first off, we will need to click it with one basic exalted. That basic exalted is going to add one particular mod, which are we going to eat with the essence. To make sure, since we have one suffix already, we will need to add prefix. Omen of Sinistral Exaltation is giving us that opportunity. So after that, you're just clicking and getting one prefix, perfection. For that, we're going to use Omen of Sinistral Crystallization. So just activate it and use Perfect Essence of Enhancement to eat that prefix. At the moment, as you can see, we ended up with something like that, which is pretty nice. Right here we can use Omen of Black-Blooded for the Cargill modifier, together with Preserved Collarbone. Boom, we have +1 option too. So we're just using the well, and right here we will have Energy Shield from Equipped Body Armor Guaranteed mode. You can go for that or for Evasion. So both options are working pretty nice. Make sure you're getting a correct omen for that part. So after that you have 3 proper options right there, and only 1 modifier left. So when you're doing Amulet, there's also another important thing to mention. There's a thing called Essence of the Breach. So that's going to give you a modifier, and that modifier will allow you 20% to maximum quality on your amulet. So for example, right here you can see my amulet crafted the same way like I just showcased, but with higher quality. So to do that, initially you will need to apply Essence of the Breach after you rolled your plus levels, and you can just add basic prefix to it and eat the basic prefix with Essence of the Breach. Keep in mind that Essence of the Breach is working just fine with omens, so Omen of Sinistral Crystallization is going to allow you eating the prefix. That way you can just apply the prefix to your amulet, eat it with Essence of the Breach, click it with quality with the River Catalyst up to quality 35%, and after that you can just use Orb of Annulment and annul that crafted modifiers, which is a prefix. So right here you have Orb of Annulment, remove only prefix modifiers, and after you removed it, you will be able to just craft it the same way like I just showcased, so nothing changes for you. But keep in mind that using Essence of the Breach worth it only if you have +3 level of all melee skills on your amulet. If you have +2, it's not going to work and it's not going to do anything. So when we are talking about body armors, it's very similar to what we had with helmets. At the start, you're just going to use Perfect Orb of Transmutation at Sleek Jackets. Sleek Jacket bases at the moment are pretty cheap, so you should be able to get some particular ones for like 3 exalted approximately if item level is going to be 80. You can go for 81 and pay about 10 exalted, but most of the time just 80 is going to be alright, because there's a lot of RNG in that craft. So just Perfect Orb of Transmutations, a few Sleek Jackets, and throw the bad ones away. Pretty often there are going to be a lot of bad ones. Thanks God, it's pretty cheap for the basic base. So here we got a pretty nice combination of tier 1 Evasion Energy Shield and tier 2 resistances, which is pretty alright. Unfortunately, the rest is pretty bad. With the bad bases, once again, you can use a Reforge or just throw them away completely. Most of the time, a Reforge is not going to give you anything nice, but sometimes there could be something. As you can see, it just gives very low level modifiers. So right here, when you have a body armor like that, you practically have a choice. Going for a good body armor, you will need to hope that you will hit a good prefixes. However, going for a safe and cheaper option is just use a greater essence of enhancement. So, risky option but with a higher potential would be just to use greater essence of Thawing instead and just get additional resistance on that. But safe one is going to be greater essence of enhancement. Right now I'm going to use enhancement variation. As you can see, we got like tier 4 and a pretty decent amount of evasion and energy shield. We're finishing it in the same fashion like we did before. Since we have open suffixes right now, we can just use Omen of Greater Exaltation together with Omen of Dextral Exaltation and 1 Exiled Orb click to get 2 suffixes on that body armor. And as you can see, we got Deflection and Ignite Duration. Ignite Duration is pretty useless, however Deflection is pretty nice, even if it's a lower tier. So after that, we can just use Preserved Reap on what we had, and the only thing which is left is to reveal. Again, like with the helmets, don't forget to add double sockets, and you also need to add Iron Runes, even if you're going to sell it. So right here, if you believe the numbers are good enough, you can use an Omen for reroll, but if you're just going for a cheap craft, don't waste additional currency. For the body armors, crafting as many as possible options and just identifying good ones is a very important part of the process. So let's reveal it, And right here we have 40% evasion energy shield again, unfortunately without the flat. It's going to boost the number a little better, however we still have deflection and one resistance from the first attempt, which is absolutely alright. If you want to get a pretty decent thing for yourself, you will probably need to recraft that many times, so make sure that it's worth it at the moment. However, since we have deflection in there together with some resistance and even a little life, I think that one could cost about 3-4 divines approximately in the current market, which is not too horrible. If instead of ignite duration we would hit something better like additional resistance, or if I would be a little more lucky with prefixes, it would definitely cost more. The biggest upside for just crafting body armors is how cheap the attempt is. Since you're paying only like 3 exalteds for the jacket, you're also paying not that much from transmutation, and you don't need to spend anything anywhere on the way. I believe you can just allow yourself a lot of attempts right here, and you can also get the gear still cheaper than the one on the market at the moment. So for the boots, you can just buy the bases for pretty cheap, or you can gamble the bases yourself. So if you're going to buy the bases, just use the search with some evasion and energy shield, item level at least 80 together with movement speed already, some deflection, elemental resistance or rarity. You will be able to buy a lot of those boots for pretty cheap. As you can see on the market, you can get a pretty decent setups with like boots like that, with already movement speed, rarity or movement speed resistances. Getting them for 10 or maybe 20 exalteds could be significantly more easy than just buying them and rolling them yourself. So check that market before you're going to do anything first. So most of the time when you're rolling your boots, you're just aiming to get something like that. Evasion and energy shield together with some rarity, or for example here, it's absolutely perfect roll, you have movement speed and evasion rating. Most of the time, getting movement speed on the boots will be pretty tricky and there's a lot of RNG involved. So for those boots, you can just run something very basic like an option with resistances on top. So you can pick any resistance essence right here for cold, for example, and just click that one with the resistance essence. And right here, it's probably going to be the same. I'm clicking it with the resistance essence, and we will also need to use Omen of Sinistral Necromancy together with Preserved Rib to hop and hit the prefix for those boots, because that prefix would be movement speed theoretically. You need to try and make those bases as cheap as possible, because there's a big chance you're not going to roll movement speed at all and the boots will be absolutely worthless. So Sinistral Necromancy and Preserved Rib is going to give you the prefix, and here we already have a movement speed, so it's pretty nice, and instead we can also add a suffix. So in this case, just go for suffix with Armour of Dextral Necromancy. Right there. Preserved, and we have it. For the rest of the modifiers, you're going to gamble again, so use Greater Exaltation and click first boots on the left, and after that boots on the right. So right here we got some mana, Energy Shield and Evasion, which is fine, and we got deflection as well. Since we already have a movement speed, those one could be considered kind of a success. Here we also need to roll those move speed, but keep in mind that all that craft so far is very cheap, and you can just keep redoing it without spending a lot of additional currency. Here we just hope for movement speed, and our chance to hit is not that high. As you can see, I got no movement speed at all, so unfortunately those are not really working out pretty good. However, as an upside, you barely paid anything for that craft, and you can just continue redoing it. And right here we have a movement speed already, and we also have deflection, so we just need to hit a second resistance or something nice like stats for yourself, reduce chill duration, anything that you like to run at the moment. Since chill is pretty bad, I'm probably going to pick the chill, and that's what you're ending up with. So now let's talk about the gloves. And for the gloves, there's a few techniques that you can do, but in general, it heavily depends on what exactly you want to have on the gloves. If you want to go for something like gain power charge on critical hit, which is when you're taking the gloves off as gain to arc and search when you deal a critical hit, it's a little harder, but perfectly you need to hit as many tier 1 and tier 2 prefixes as possible. The rest of the suffixes are not that important, especially since we still can use just the Hysteria Essence to get our critical bonus up. So at the moment, I recommend to just start from buying or fracturing yourself a gloves with one perfect like tier 1 damage. At the moment, you need to just search for lightning damage, cold damage, fire damage, about 26, and item level 80. Keep in mind that you should have Energy Shield on your gloves, so it's absolutely necessary, otherwise you will be unable to roll Arcane Surge. So right here we have a few options, and if you want to fracture yourself, you can practically just buy unfractured gloves with 4 modifiers and click them with fracturing orbs. The less modifiers you will have on those gloves, the better, since it will save us some currency. And if there are not going to be a lot of them on the market, you can just send your filter to 3 to 4 modifiers, change the fractures to a normal one, like that, set it to 25, and pick any gloves like that for practically one regular orb and keep hitting them with your fracturing orb until you'll fracture proper damage modifier. So after you got your gloves up right there, you will need to use Orb of Annulment, so they will have only one modifier available left. And after that, the boring part comes in. You just need to keep clicking it with Chaos Orbs until you will hit a good second prefix, which is most of the time should be just one more flat damage. Keep in mind that since chaos prices are pretty high, that part could be kinda expensive, especially if it will be not really lucky on your side. So at the moment you can keep clicking until you will hit at least tier 1 or tier 2. So after clicking for some time, I ended up with tier 2 physical together with tier 1 lightning that I already had. Perfectly, it would be to have like tier 2 elemental there, so either cold or fire. But even like that, I think it's looking pretty decent. So right now we need to use Omen of Dextral Exaltation together with only one basic Exalted to add any suffix modifier. So right here we adding it, and we got critical damage bonus, which is kinda surprising. Most of the time you'll get a pretty useless option, but if you got critical damage bonus like that, you can just proceed with the next step just fine. However, if you will get a different suffix, you will need to use Essence of Hysteria together with Crystallized Omen. So right here you have Omen of the Dextral Crystallization that you will need to use with Essence of Hysteria to click your gloves and get the same modifier. It's going to be 25 to 29 critical damage bonus. So after you got the critical damage bonus up, you have a pretty nice option to finish your gloves. So you will get it from Hysteria most of the time. It's going to be a crafted modifier like on my gloves right here. And unfortunately you can't use Omen of the Black-Blooded to guarantee a critical modifier, because you can't use it on gloves. So you can either go to try your luck with power charge on critical hit, or you can just try to get gloves with triple extra damage. That's completely up to you in that situation, because there's not a lot of opportunities. So if you're going to go for the suffix, you will need to use Dextral Necromancy together with Preserved Trip. Keep in mind that the chance to get Arcane Surge is approximately 1 to 15, and you might need to even use Omen of Light to reroll it. And if you just want to finish the gloves and get like a pretty cheap, nice upgrade for you, you need to use Omen of Sinistral Necromancy for the prefix. I'm going for the cheap option right there, so like Necromancy and Preserved Trip for the prefix. As the rest, we have double suffixes. It could be practically anything, so just using Greater Exaltation and Greater Exalted Orb is going to give me reduced attribute requirements and fire resistance, which is practically not bad, because reduced attribute requirements when you're equipping it is just transforming into plus to all attributes, which is feeling pretty nice. So right there, we just need to finish our prefix, and for that we're going to use Omen of Abyssal Echoes. So right here we hope for last possible flat damage, which could be kinda harder to get depending on the situation. So right here we have a very low one. I can practically just roll with this and call it a day, or use Omen of Light on this. Most of the time it's not really worth to use Omen of Light. You need to just pick any option that you will have as high as possible, and most of the time you're still going to be absolutely fine. However, keep in mind that you need to check the market, because just getting triple damage right here could be cheaper while buying than just crafting them yourself. And if in the same situation you're going to get for power charge on critical right here, you will just need to keep redesecrating the suffix using Orb of Annulment plus Omen of Light until you'll hit it. But it can take a lot of attempts and could be pretty tricky, so it's completely down to your luck at the moment. So finishing that video, I believe that at the moment craft could be not that efficient for some particular items, because you're mostly relying on good slams when you're using your RNG. There's a few items that you can use more expensive and deterministic craft, but you're still going to rely on RNG in particular situations. And for most of the items that I showcased in the video, you will need to keep redoing it until you're hitting very good mods to get anything up. So keep that part in mind, and always check the market before you're spending currency for practically anything. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you will be able to get some good items in the process. ronarray out, and see you next time.